No, stop using the microphone. You're not professional.
Excuse me. I want decent audio, and it's what you're gonna have to deal with until I get home. We'll get my other mic, which is also a pro mic. Soz, mate. It's gonna have to be done. Anyway, let's talk about Need for Speed. My voice is coming back. I'm happy. Let's talk about Need for Speed again. Now, I'm going to show you the highway heist. You guys have probably seen this before, but the main thing I want to focus on is not the actual mission itself, but the handling. Because I'm going to go out and say that as of now, the handling I've played on this mission and on another mission, which hopefully you get to see very, very soon, this is the best handling they've had ever. I'm going to stick by that. Unless they change it for the worst, that is my statement I'm going to keep with this game. So the one thing I want to talk about is the problem that Ghost have is that they've got to create a mix of a game. Everybody knows that there's like different points in the series at which are people's favorites. For example, some people like Most Wanted 2012, some people like Most Wanted 2005, Underground Carbon, that area. Some people like the original games. Some people like the new Hot Pursuit. Some people like The Run. There's so many games in the series that a lot of people attach to, and that is their favorite because that's the first they played, or that's the originals that they played, or whatever. So Ghost have got to pretty much make a combination of all of those, and that's what they attempted to do in the last game. They achieved it, though the handling was very twitchy and all over the place. We all know that it wasn't the best handling in the world. It wasn't one of the good handlings either. But the point is, they got into a step in that direction. This game, they completely scrapped the last handling and gave it another go. And this time, I promise you, they've got it bang on. I said the last game was really good handling at the beginning. I said yes, because honestly, it was. Having the sliders and everything, being able to tune if you didn't want to drift, that made me happy. I'm pretty sure I make everyone else happy. If you look at it that way, like for example, we didn't have to drift. We didn't have to brake to drift. Brake to drift was an option. It was a step in the right direction, though it was hit and miss. It started to twitch and everything, and it didn't originally do that at the beginning, and then eventually did it more, and then it did it less. But either way, it wasn't the greatest. Moving on to this game, no twitching. Look at the gameplay. Smooth. It's going as it should do. But it actually has all the settings still. Now, if you're wondering what the setup on this vehicle is, because I'm pretty sure you will, it is a race vehicle. So a normal racing car, the car that you use in races, not drifting. This car is set in the middle ground of the handling. Also, they said, I'm not exactly 100% sure, but that's pretty much what they would assume it would be. So somewhere in the middle, and it had brake to drift on, which is why it did that, and it has drift stability and all that kind of stuff that was on the previous game, but it has all that settings like slimmed down to the most important ones on this game. But that's the setting tune-up that is on this car. So as you can see, it's drifting, but it's not drifting to the extent where it would take a corner like a drift gone, like kind of drift car. Because a drift car is going to take drifts better, right? Now, what they've done by splitting up the settings is improved so many aspects as well, including the fact that when you actually go to specific setups, so for example, race here and drift, you can then go to the settings and just make it so one side makes it easy and one side makes it harder. So that was what they've done with this, drift, and every other spec in there. One side makes it easier, one side makes it harder. You say easier, harder as like a loose term, because in race, for example, it makes you grip. You can still probably drift in grip if you tune it right, like a balance of both, but more so on that side, on the side. I'm just saying I can't even speak. Theoretically, I'm talking about drift being the easier side and grip being the harder side, because you can still technically drift in the grip side. Just you'll have to like slam on the handbrake and that kind of thing and tune the settings so that the brakes are heavier at the front, that kind of thing, as you did in the previous game, but even more so because you can actually turn. Okay, that's one thing with the grip, because obviously that's one of the first things I tried when I went to Ghost and got to play the game a little bit. We're in the open world. It was an early stage of handling, but even at that point I was pretty much set that that was the best handling Need for Speed has had yet. Which is I'm excited about. So anyway, the grip handling, you could drift with it, but you had to again tune to the front, like put brakes to the front, slam on the handbrake, properly go for it. And if you don't want to and you want to just drive it straight and not drift anywhere in Porsches, you can do that. That's what we did. We drove around in Porsches and we did not have to brake. When we hit the brake, we didn't drift. It was heavenly. It was heavenly, because that's the handling I want, as you guys know. And in the last game, they pretty much got there, just had major niggles. Now, the best way to look at it is something I've spoken about a lot before. If you look at the hot rod was a new attempt at the handling, and it's similar to the new handling. The hot rod, talking about the big F100 thing, I don't know what it's called. Basically, that vehicle was brand new handling, not like the others at all. And that was a first step towards what the handling is going to be in the next game. So if you give that a chance, you'll see that that's pretty much what the grip's going to be like. Obviously, that thing is overly powered and fast, and it's not nowhere near the final handling what the next game is going to be, but it's pretty close to what it is going to be. And I think one of the major differences, other than the handling like not twitching anymore, because they fixed it. They fixed that problem. The new thing is that the cars actually feel heavy, which is amazing. They haven't felt heavy in a while. If you look back at all the Need for Speed games, the only ones I can recall when the cars actually felt heavy are the shift games, both of them, and the Run. The Run, as you know, is one of my favorite Need for Speed games. And again, you can be like, okay, well, Need for Speed, the Run was crap. I don't trust your opinion anymore. Yeah, the game wasn't great. 2-hour campaign, which really upset me, but it was a good 2 hours in my opinion. The actual handling, I quite liked it, honestly. It felt very heavy and weighty for the first time, one of the first times in the series, and I enjoyed that. Was it perfect? Hell no. The multiplayer was just a laggy mess and everyone was flying everywhere. It was not very good at all, but when it did work, it worked well, and I loved it. Anyway, so the handling is very much similar in the aspect of weight to the Run. So when you actually drive the car, when you first get into this game and you first drive this car, you start accelerating, you're like, okay, this is Need for Speed, feels much more stable. It's not just kicking out for no reason whatsoever. It's just going. We're going steady. And then you try and turn. Oh my, you have to like fully lock, and then it's like slowly scraping around. And I know one aspect of that is because we're driving a big, heavy Mustang. So cars actually feel different in weight. I've driven 2 different cars on this this E3 build, and both of them feel different in terms of weight. The Mustang felt heavier, another car felt a little bit lighter. So the weight of the cars, you can feel it. And honestly, I was speaking to the developers, and it's not just about how actually adding the handling, weight to the handling. It's adding weight to the camera and the way the camera moves and the way the stick reacts to you pushing it and that kind of thing. There's so many things that go into it because you can't actually just put weight and then that's it. You have to literally work out how to make it seem that it feels that heavy, and that's something the Run did very well, which other games haven't done, because every other game, especially the last game 2015, cars felt like they didn't weigh anything, but they fixed that. So that's pretty much one of the major aspects of the handling. As I said, weight has been changed, and it's for the better, because when you go, for example, in these mission style events, which are not all of the game, most of the game is racing, just so you know. When you're driving along in these cars and you hit something, you feel it. When you hit a car head on, you feel it, they feel it. It's just how it should be. But as I was speaking about, when it comes to drifting, it feels a little bit different because this is a race car, not an actual drift car. So if you put it to drift, even though it does drift quite easily to get you around a corner, when it comes to actually drifting around small objects or drifting around a small area, when you don't have much speed when you try and drift, you'll see that if you turn too much, you can still spin out. And this is on middle ground handling. So imagine if you go more towards the grip side a little bit, it's still probably going to drift, especially have brake to drift on. If you disable that, it's going to change the world, basically. But you can see that the weight is shown when you drift. I wish I had some more clips of this, because the amount of times I played it, and I only recorded it once, just because I didn't want to keep showing you and showing you and showing you. But you'll see from my gameplay and other people's gameplay, when you turn too much, you can still spin inwards and lose all momentum. You have to actually control it. This is middle ground. So this is meant to be more, when you jump in the game, this are the settings you get, and this is what you can complete the game with if you don't want to mess with the tuning yourself. So it's for the beginners. And again, the reason they've got to do this is because there's people from different games that prefer that game. They've got a bigger challenge on their hands than someone like The Crew or someone like Forza, in where there are not that many games into the series. I mean, Forza is, for example, if they overhauled the handling, it would be completely bleh. But The Crew, for example, people are much more forgiving with that handling because of the fact that the series is so new. They've only had, this is their second game, and the handling's pretty good. And it's been the same team for the past 2 games, you know? Whereas Need for Speed has gone through about 6 developers. It's gone through about 20 million games. There's so many games in the series, and people go like, why can't it be as good as that? And that's because it's just not the same team. If it was the same team, then they could do that, you know? So they're basically building it from the ground up, and this is pretty much their 3rd game. Their 3rd game that they've made. So I'm saying that they've pretty much done a good job of trying to balance everybody, make everybody happy, and not only that, fix everything in the previous game and then add a whole bunch more. Rather than just fixing everything and saying, here's your game, Underground 3.2, they've gone, you know what, we need to add more than that. We need to actually, you know, evolve the series to a point in where this is the track that we want to go with future games, this storyline, these characters, that kind of thing. So anyway, let me know your thoughts down below. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about the handling model. Hopefully some of you guys have actually tried the handling model. If you have tried it at EA Play, make sure to let me know down in the comments, and we'll have a discussion about it. Because if you look at, you know, what everyone's saying, they'll pretty much say that this is one of the best handling, like if you've actually played it, the best handling models that Need for Speed has ever had, probably if not the best. Anyway, let me know your thoughts down below. Be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you are new, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.